train children who could not complete or pass their what we call JAM, but it's UME then, and then school certificate, but then we moved on to the high school before the primary school. I also, I was the director for Association of Christian Schools International, Nigeria and West Africa until just about a year ago, until a few months ago, but also the chairperson ACSI Africa. For ACSI, the headquarters is in the United States, in Colorado Springs, but the West Africa is Anglophone, so the new director is Pastor Sheldon Oludigbe, and I'm excited. I saw the River State coordinator is there. We organize on state basis, and what we do is to ensure that Christian schools run effectively. We give all of the support to ensure that what they set out to do, they're actually doing. So it's not a Christian school by name. And the Dancehall High School started, we're 25 years old, and then the elementary school is 15 years old. The head of school for the primary school is Mr. Ladosho. And I thank God for the team. Thank you so much, the brother that talked about the bottomless.
I don't format already.
I'm here to learn. I've been learning, to be honest. And
the one you gave me. You gave me. No, you just gave me. I've been calling you guys since. Yes, no. I've been calling you guys since nobody wants to pay attention. Yeah, kind of. But why not? Why are you not coming to on screen? Why are you not coming up on screen?
The first thing was the shock.
That's been home
when the meeting and the information came, you're going to close.
So for you.
The first thing was how to get the school to close. That was the first decision. And of course we had to respond. Then the next thing was how will teaching continue? And to be honest, personally, with my team, we didn't know it was going to be this long. We didn't think it was going to be this long. But then teaching needed to continue. And so for SS3 then, we switched because we left school on the 23rd, by 25th, teaching continued with SS3 because we were online anyway. And it was about just switching over. It was part teaching for us before. But now it was a decision to be full online teaching. And for the other classes, it was a decision to make the next 2 weeks of Easter vacation, and then at the end of April, then online teaching started. Now, I'm not going to say it was a big challenge, but it had its challenges.
But I can't see myself on this screen.
Teaching online fully had its own ups and downs. Teachers knew what to do online because, it's like God was teaching us, because all teachers in dancehall at that time had to be Microsoft certified educators and all of that. But when the real thing came, the challenges were there, so the time was taken to train and all of that. There were also challenges for the children adjusting, especially at the elementary level, the attention span. Then parents also had their own challenges and all of that. Those were difficulties because many of the parents will tell you, we have just one device, I have 3 children, I have 2 children. You had to listen to them. There were challenging times, but along the line, we all settled. For Association of Christian Schools in Nigeria, at Ghana and Sierra Leone, what we did was webinars started. We had to begin to get them to understand what it would be to have online lessons and all of that. And but for others, when you're looking at schools that are in the remote areas, how could you do this with WhatsApp and all of that? We had to learn, unlearn, and things like that. There were loads of lessons to learn. We had to share and to encourage the school. School owners had a lot of challenges, and for us as an association, we had to encourage them.
Thank you very much, Ma. Do we have Harti and Mutheu Kasanga? Can you hear me very well? Okay.
I can hear you quite well.
Okay, thank you very much. We've done an introduction, and then we'd like to hear from you. Tell us about yourself, and then the most difficult decision you took during the lockdown in Kenya. I'm sure we had different days of lockdown. The calendar came into different countries at different times. So can you tell us a bit more about yourself and the decisions you took during the lockdown, especially with your members?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Mutheu Kasanga. I am the National Chairperson for the Kenya Private Schools Association, which caters for all K-12 education in Kenya. In Kenya, we cater for about 1/3 of the school-going population. We have a total school-going population of about 12 million children in education, in basic education, and about 4 million of those go to private schools from nursery to primary to secondary. For us, the pandemic was particularly hard, and this is a story that replicated itself across Africa, where we saw governments not supporting private sectors in education to get back on even footing. So for us, one of the most difficult things when it comes to making sure that learning never has to stop again because of system shocks, which like this pandemic, which we've never experienced. For us, we have come up with a four-point strategy that each education institution must work towards so that we can ensure that the entire system in the private sector is not going to have the system shocks it has. And it's very practical. For us as an association, we boil things down to action points, and we looked back and saw where the gaps were in why did education stop in Kenya? What were the things that made learning stop so completely for 9 months? And we did a major study of the issues, and Africa, being Africa, of course, the top issue was access to devices for learning for both the students and the teachers. The second thing was connectivity, and there are parts of our country where internet connectivity is, even if it's there, it's very poor quality and cannot be used for learning. And in basic education, we don't really have a problem with content, but the relevance of that content to our context is a problem, and therefore, for us, sort of establishing communities of teachers and professionals who can then curate and sort out the content, and as well as communities of practitioners where promising content can then be shared and openly shared, because this is the thing with the private sector. Of course, content is your advantage, therefore that content is never really shared, unlike in government education systems. For us, then, we have to open up and remove sharing of best practices from the competitive space, so that then we can truly embed technology in learning. And finally, the biggest gap was teacher training. We saw in Kenya a lot of teachers who are technology averse and are so scared of technology. It sounds right now like it's not possible, but we've seen it over and over, where the minute you start making it a little bit more complex than just talking at a screen, delivering that lesson they would have delivered in front of a blackboard, and then you tell them, okay, now it's a Zoom lesson like this one, so it's just talking to a screen. The minute you start making it a little bit more complex than that, you get a lot of fear of technology, a lot of fear and not just fear, but you get almost like resistance to change when it comes to the technologies that make learning even more integrated. So for us, teacher training, especially in the area of integration of technology, that is a four-pronged approach that we are rolling out countrywide, and we as an association have already begun massive teacher training for teachers in the private sector to start bringing down the walls in the use of education technology in running of schools and in teaching and learning. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that contribution. Please, if you are happy, please clap very well. I'll go to the last question from me, so then I'll just come to your own question. So just prepare. Now, from the history, a pandemic is always accompanied with economic downtime, and a shift in the view of the world generally. Talking about the finance, the team building in an organization, raising new talent, new leaders, and in the context of school now, retaining and gaining parent loyalty, customer loyalty in the context of business. So I would like you to pick one of these. Maybe we should narrow down more on the gaining the loyalty of parents. What did you do? We want you to share best practices here, please. What did you do to engage parents and to retain their loyalty? It might be in your school or maybe in one of the schools under your organization. Thank you very much.
Okay, what we did was that we set up Zoom meetings with them because we needed to relate to them. We needed to let them know exactly what we'll do and what our plans were. And it gave them the opportunity also to talk about their own challenges. And what we realized, interestingly, because ordinarily you have maybe PT meetings and you have
Parents forum?
Yeah, parents forum. Parents forum are usually, per section. But this, we brought everybody together, who are people per section, we brought them together, so they could discuss their challenges. And it was necessary, because that's the way that element of trust that has been, they needed to know, how the school is thinking, and that we are also thinking about them, that we're concerned about them, and we want to listen to their challenges in order to be able to support the children further. So that was how we dealt with it. We went, on Zoom to do that. Of course, you have some difficult questions to answer, obviously, but it's okay. But the most important thing is that gesture of giving them a voice and making them realize that you actually care about them and that they are important to you. So that's really further trust with the parents.
Okay, communication, being able to engage them, answer questions, and showing trust and care. Thank you very much, ma. Okay, over to you.
Yes. At the school level, for dancer schools and then ACSI, at the school level, since parents knew that we had their children at heart, we wanted continuity in learning, trust was engendered. But what I also, because again, this is for school leaders, it's not enough to just get the trust of parents, we need to sustain it. So we need to do all that we will do to sustain parents' trust. Number one, a few of them even at the point of resuming fully, because at the early stages we had, it was not full school resumption because of our school population. So it was blended, half physical, half online and all of that. But there was a lot of cooperation and there was, like she said, a lot of meetings. Then staff were in touch with parents in a way that they knew we were taking care of staff. God helped us, we match salaries were paid, April salaries were paid. Then we had Zoom meetings also with staff and all of that. So when we did the percentages for teachers, this percentage for those who were staying at home completely, teachers were staying at home but they were teaching. So all of those things, how we were known by parents and they knew that there was a good relationship, a good rapport, and there was peace. Also, particularly for SS3, we did a survey, and once the emotional knows them, they will also build their team. The emotional stability of children was important and of staff. For staff and the mental health. So it was necessary to carry out a survey to know if what were all departments, whether it's education. So we wanted, okay, we could counsel, we had counselors for students, we had counselors for staff. And then at the association level, we encourage our schools through our Zoom meetings and our webinars to say, please, and we had those who were speaking with them, please keep connected with your parents. It was very important to carry parents along, even though you did not agree on all of the points, but it was very important to carry their trust so that they know, or they knew at that time, that you were interested in the children. Even when you were having your financial difficulties, it was good for parents to know that you really, your number one desire is to run the school and not just drop the children at every point in time. But mind you, a lot of schools had their challenges. A lot of schools had their financial challenges. And so what we could do as Association of Christian Schools, we were calling, we were praying with them, we were encouraging them. It was tough. Some states had it difficult. I mean, some schools, just like our Kenyan sister said, some nations just did not want to understand online. They just didn't want to hear, and I don't know why. But I'm praying that as time goes on, people will understand that it's not negative, that it's positive, and that things could work together for the good of the children.
Thank you very much. Let's put time together very well. Thank you. Then we have a question going to Kasanga again. I don't know if you got the question very well, talking about the pandemic being accompanied by so many issues and challenges, and then we narrow down on how you and maybe a few other members worked on gaining and regaining parent loyalty, because this is in the context of private school now. The parents are the customer. Thank you. This step towards and
that's it.
look, can you pause for a while? We can hear you. So,
Can you hear me now?
yes, go on.
Yes, in the past, schools behaved like a doctor. They came and diagnosed the problem with the child, and then they gave a solution, and the parents had to take it or leave it. If they didn't like it, they moved to another school. Come the pandemic, and we in education, in private education, we realized that we are very fragile, and that we cannot behave like government schools where you diagnose a problem, and if you don't like it, you go away. So for us, I want to agree with everybody that communication became very, very critical. And communication became very, very critical. And being the new normal, then it was...
Things will continue to happen in the education, landscape globally. We will be able to stay ahead of situations. Thank you. Okay, please, you can go on.
Yes, I was saying that communication, like everybody has said, became the most important thing. Education system resilient. And therefore, for us in the private sector, we discovered that we must talk to our parents consistently and throughout the pandemic. And we used all the new methods of talking to them. Then we used, the online meetings. We used social media like WhatsApp. We communicated better in our, school management software. We send them regular updates about the progress of online learning.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I'd like... Hello?
When it comes
okay, so...
making sure...
Okay, so now I think the next thing we're going to do now, please let us save time.
Because of...
Okay.
Systems.
Thank you. Thank you. We're just hearing that. Okay, now I'd like to go straight to the questions because I know we have questions, and then these are the leaders on the panel. I would like to entertain 2 questions because we are going to have the 3 of them answer the question. Please just come forward. I think women this time around. Just come forward. Thank you very much. Come forward, and then you ask the question, your name, the name of your school, and then your question in 4 people now. Your question in 30 seconds. You know those type of questions, straight to point.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mutheu. I actually support schools, so I'm a consultant. My organization is Plumter Advisory. I have a question, and I believe the panelists are very good at being able to respond due to the fact that they represent a lot of school owners as well. So we've heard a lot of challenges that came with the pandemic. I was just wondering if our panelists could share any long-lasting positive outcomes as a result of the pandemic.
Positive outcome. Maybe we just have one person to answer one question, then we move on like that. Okay.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sari Omogolapuye, and I would like to ask that my school name is Alpha Academy, and I particularly want to ask about how you handled discipline online, because you're teaching the kids, they are off and they are watching videos or playing games. How were you able to handle it? Thank you.
Okay, positive outcome. Can you do that? 30 seconds? Anybody? Positive outcome? Then discipline, 30 seconds.
Positive outcome. I'd like to say that the pandemic was a problem of life for life. That's what I say. And there are things we need to learn. I mean, there were many lessons of life we should take on. And I don't want us to forget them so quickly. Now, the number 1 was finance. I mean, well, if you ask me, many of us were not disciplined about finance. We didn't save for a rainy day. And so someone at one of our webinars at our ACSI webinar said, look, it's important that we know that this might happen again. It may not be a pandemic. Supposing something happens and we're not able to run for 2 months, are we going to be able to pay salaries? Because that was the main issue then for most schools. What are we saving even now? There was a Joseph story that somebody said, yeah, 7 good years and 7 bad years. So what are we going to do about it? So whatever we learned at that time, we need to sustain it. Then the next one is about our health. Let's connect with our teachers. Your teachers are, like was told earlier, we need to connect with them. We also need to understand, especially for those of us who run high school, the SS3 students came back then. I couldn't touch them, I couldn't reach them, and I was worried. Because they were worried. What's our future like? Normally exams should have taken place and would have gone, and we didn't have any information. And so, let's also understand that these children, when we did the survey, you know what their concerns were? Will my parents die? Will my parents lose their job? We lost some friends, family friends. So let's understand that the children we're dealing with, they're not just children, they are human beings. They have feelings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And discipline online.
Well, I mean, discipline online, what we did was that, number 1, cameras must be on. Cameras must be on. It's when they want to play games, that's when they switch off the camera. Obviously, behind the switch off camera, we don't know what is happening. The person is probably looking in the class, even though the name is there. And so it is important that when that happens, immediately, of course, you speak to the child, but then you contact the parent. Because really, they should also be supervising what is going on. And so that was the way that was handled. It is important to ensure that when the children are in class, they are in class. And that affects us too as adults, because a lot of us sign up for a whole lot of webinars, our names are there, but we're not there. We are not there. And that is indiscipline. So if you don't want to be there, then don't do it. You don't want to be. Don't.
Thank you very much.
Just want to know about the long-lasting positive outcome is that it should, the fact that we went into online schooling and the fact that we were making positive moves on it should not end with COVID. Please, we need to improve on it, and like I said earlier on, improve on it. Thank God for Edves. We need to keep improving on it. There are different ways to go about it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. My own question is quite different. Oh, sorry. Mrs. Mardia Adeyemi from Lofty James School. My question is actually different from the pandemic. Based on your experience, ma'am, I would like you to share with us how to improve the enrollment of pupils in schools.
Enrollment. Please come. Hello? Enrollment.
All right. My name is Rashid Olatunde Adebayo. I'm actually a stakeholder in school support space. The question I really want to ask is all about progressive thinking. All right? Thinking forward progressively. We quite understand that yes, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals is still actually functioning around to 2030. And now presently goal number 4, which is quality education. Challenges has come during the time of Covid19, and which actually happens to be the shock that Kasanga was talking about, that yes, knowing the position of private schools, that yes, private schools, she said something that yes, they are quite fragile. My question is this: going forward, what's the position that private schools, various private schools associations are taking collectively to ensure that yes, they forge a collaboration with the government, with a one voice, forge a collaboration with the government to achieve this quality education going forward, sustainable development means of quality education. Thank you.
Collaborative efforts around SDG 4 with government. The first one is enrollment increase. I think, okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Victoria Coleman. I'm the administrator of the Vicky School, a school located in an underserved area community in Lagos. So my question is, how can we help underserved schools, in underserved communities in Lagos, journey with the rest of the world in education?
You mean low-income communities? Okay. So the first question, I don't know if you have BT Kasanga here, talking about the increase in enrollment. You said that 1/3 students in Kenya attend private schools. That's very high. I mean, that's much. Because in Nigeria, I don't think it's 1/3 in Nigeria. So now, do you have an idea, I mean, maybe a new notion or something you want to share around how to increase enrollment? This is purely sales now. How to increase enrollment in private school? Can you speak to that in 1 minute? Then, Mrs. Koiki, you're going to help us take the second question around how we can collaborate with government to achieve SDG 4. And then, Mommy, you talk about the low-income society, how to integrate them to what is happening in the high-income, Koiki and Koka. So, Kasanga, please, your question: how to increase enrollment in private school? Thank you. Okay, can you hear me? Someone should type the question. So let's take Mrs. Koiki while she reads the question. Please type the question for her, and then let's get her to speak after Mrs. Koiki. Thank you very much.
I do agree that there is need for that level of collaboration and working with government, but I'm not so sure that government is quite ready for that. I mean, they have a lot of challenges. For instance, about the leadership government, they've done quite a lot. I mean, yes, we sitting back will probably say no, they've not done anything. But indeed, they've done quite a lot for education, and a lot is happening within the schools. I was privileged to be on the panel for the selection of the best teachers and stuff like that. And I was shocked at the quality of teachers that they had. They have some very, very good quality teachers. And so the rot is much. It's going to take time for the change or the transformation to become visible. Now, the issue with collaboration, especially, because we've put forward proposals, for instance, for a public-private partnership, so that, the schools can be run by maybe schools that have run successfully for a while, something like that, like we have in the US, where we have the charter schools. They're government schools, but they're being run by private organizations. But I'm not sure, because of the paucity of funds and things like that, government is not ready, even though they are interested. I only speak about Lagos and the states. I'm not sure about other states, because I'm not even sure that most of them are putting in enough effort. For instance, I know Kaduna State is doing a lot. I think River State as well. But most of the other states are not even, doing much in terms of education. So we'll keep trying.
Lots of work to do. Ma'am, I don't know if, I think we are lucky to have Kasanga back. Can you speak now on your question? Thank you.
Oh, so back to the question I was answering. This was way back now. I think we've moved into public-private partnerships in education. But I was commenting on parents and loyalty and what schools have done in Kenya to keep parents loyal. And I was just sort of supporting what everybody said, that communication became the key thing and continues to be the one takeaway that we all have from the pandemic. I gave the example that schools in Kenya at least behaved like doctors, where their work was to diagnose a problem with students and then just give parents a diagnosis that the schools demand that parents take it or leave it. There was a very top-heavy power distance between parents, schools and parents had to do what schools demanded. With the pandemic, we saw a very different engagement emerge, where schools actively sought out parents' opinions, schools negotiated on school fees, schools negotiated with their teachers, and for resilience, this is the one thing that our association has urged schools to keep up, not to change back into the old way of doing things. That this has now brought communications, parent relationships, parent engagement in learning into the 21st century, from where we were before, where the school was the expert, the only expert. Now we all acknowledge that parents are a very key partner in ensuring that the resilience of schools continues and ensuring the adoption of technology in learning. Without parents' engagement, this is impossible. And we've seen it. We saw parents resisting buying better devices for their children, and parents kept arguing that, oh, I can use a mobile phone in my office, so even the child needs a mobile phone. But we all know that without convincing parents that this is necessary, the use of education technology and therefore the resilience in future for for whatever might happen in the future, given that we are all now going to have to learn to live with this pandemic, and therefore any other things that might shake the world. For us as an association, making sure that education is not stopped, communication with parents, and fully embracing parents in the full sort of spectrum of running of schools is the key to education resilience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Mommy, we'll go to you for your question. Thank you.
Concerning the schools in the remote area, there are different things that could be done, and that could tie up with the person that was asking about how to attract children. It depends on your vision, your mission, and the effect you are having on the children that in your school, that are in the school presently. If you are making impact on those children, if there's transformation, what you promise to do if you are making it work, if they are seeing the positive effect on children, they will tell the people in the locality. So if you deliver on your promises, children will come. So those in the remote area, it's the same thing. But then there's a problem in the Nigerian context. Parents are no longer like parents. Parents are no longer seeing education. I mean, I come from a beautiful town called Akinyemiju where parents would sell their clothes to send their children to school when I was growing up. Now they would rather do Ashwebi than send their children to school. Now, so what I believe you could do in that remote area, elicit the interest of parents on the need for education. If you can encourage them, then once you get a group, a critical group that believes in your kind of education, then it will go somewhere. Then the next level might be to get support. I again learned during the lockdown, one of the webinars of ACSI, there's a remote place in Abuja where someone is doing a project, a low resource school, maybe some young people can pay 1,000 per child and they are running it very well. Depends on what you have. If people see the effect of education, then they will support you. The last one will be, you're going to talk about how you can use technology. These children are interested. They will be able to learn, and the parents, the children themselves will see, oh, you are doing something new, and people will give you all the support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have come to the end of this session. I don't know, Mark, before we go, any last words for you? Maybe in 30 seconds.
Something on the enrollment. You know, it is important for you to know that everything great starts small. So don't imagine that you look at those schools, I mean, for Green Street it's like something years. So I did 4 in the game. I started with 3 children. So I mean, you start and you grow by delivering on the promise, and gradually it will happen. So just keep at it and it will happen. And just to encourage educators that they are very important in the sustainability of this nation that we are in. And what we do, what we put in is what we get. So please let us teach the children and lead our schools with our mind, with our heart, and just give them the very best. Thank you. And God bless you for watching.
Thank you very much.
One last word, it's about the child. The school, it's about the child. One child at a time. Thank you.
Okay, Kasanga, 30 seconds. Last word from you. 30 seconds. Because the MC is standing beside me.
Thank you. Sorry about the technical challenges. For us, we learned a lot from the high-cost schools. And the challenge out there is how to adapt these things that the high-cost schools can do in the low-cost and the medium-cost schools. And we are looking forward to this technology and education journey for resilience, and we hope that we in Africa can then come up with solutions that are affordable for the vast majority of schools, so that every single school on the continent has a solution. You know, that not at the moment a lot of the solutions are very expensive. So we are looking forward to a time when all these things can come down in cost, so that we can make sure that we are all walking one journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, for Mrs. Koiki, Akinyemiju, and Kasanga from Kenya. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause as we share key leadership lessons learned from COVID-19. Welcome, thank you,